we go. So what I'm going to do in this session is transition from what we were talking about last night. You know, we kind of set a foundation of health, where it comes from, through nutrition, through energy balance. We talked about inflammation and so forth. So today, in this particular session, I'm going to go. Rochelle started with the belief code, body code, and emotion code. That's one of the, if you want to call it a modality, one of the modalities we use in our office. We have three others that we primarily use in our office, which is chiropractic, the CRA, which we're going to talk about, and then the Qest machine, which we have one sitting up here now, and we may or may not get a demonstration with that, but we're going to I'm going to definitely show you some slides of what the Qest machine will actually show us as we go forth with this. So I want to start with this new analysis system that we were talking about a little bit last night, of this upper cervical stuff. And I've had a lot of good questions from people that are interested in that, because obviously there's things that persist in people's bodies and their health, and sometimes we're finding that this is one of the things, or one of those things, that is blocking the body's ability to heal itself, which was one of our themes last night. Remember, we're looking for balance. We're looking for why the body's not healing itself, and these hindrances could be emotional, can be this upper cervical stuff, it can be your nutrition. So we went through a lot of that last night. So I want to get into the upper cervical chiropractic aspect. Now, I'm traditionally what we would call a full spine adjuster. All right, I adjust anything that's out of place when we find it, and there's still plenty of efficacy for that. But we're also focusing in a little bit more on the upper cervical spine, because everything, as you know, goes from the brain through that area, through this, and I have a little model here. Okay, this is a skull. This is the skull, and you have the first and second cervical vertebrae, okay, in your neck. All right, so we have the brain sitting up here in this skull. There's a big hole in the bottom of the skull called the foramen magnum. Foraмен's a doctor word for hole. Magnum means it's big, right? So there's a big hole in the bottom of the skull that the brain comes here. There's a brain stem, which has a lot to do with a lot of the what we call automatic or autonomic functions of our body. So those are the things that's happening automatically in our body: our breathing, our heartbeat. You know, we blink our eyes, our digestion. We're not sitting there consciously thinking about that working. Okay, that all comes primarily from that brainstem area. And then off the bottom of the brainstem then comes through, starting through these bottom two vertebrae, come the cord, the spinal cord. All right, so we've known in chiropractic, you know, like I said last night, chiropractic, the upper cervical stuff is kind of where chiropractic started. And for people who are not familiar with the invention of chiropractic, was back in 1895. There was this guy. He was they were calling him back in that day a magnetic healer, okay, which probably had to do with something with energy, it sounds like. Okay, and he was working, he was in a building or some kind of a building where there was a janitor that was deaf. Okay, and this guy, his name was Daniel Palmer. Palmer College was named after him. Daniel Palmer, he was messing with these different things and energy and magnetic healing and messing with the spine. He knew something was going on with the spine, and this guy that was deaf, the janitor, he said, I want to look at your spine. I want to check something. I noticed, you got something, it looks like it's out of place or something. He says, I want to try something on you. And so he applied some sort of what we would call an adjustment or correction and released that thing, and the guy was now, he could hear. It was an amazing, he was going like, what happened here? What just happened here? And that was kind of the beginning of chiropractic. So he began to research and go on from there and find that, you can do things by helping the spine. So that's kind of that little story. And people don't know for sure, some people said, well, it was this upper cervical he adjusted, or it was T3 or something, they're not sure exactly what it was he did, but it birthed another modality that as we would probably believe that God released into the earth that needed to be. And of course he was, as we said last night, pioneers get all the arrows. Boy, you should have seen the arrows he got. Because even back in the day, they were putting chiropractors in jail for doing that, because they were practicing medicine without a license is what they were, so it was a pretty incredible story. But anyway, so as I said last night, last month I spent about 3 weekends in Texas learning the not so much how to deal with this, adjust it and so forth, but how to analyze. There's a new way that they're analyzing this area so we can get this more accurate. Because when things traverse down through, let's see if I can do this, as things traverse down through this area, if this thing gets out of alignment in some form or fashion, usually from trauma is what they're finding. There's something traumatic happen. A lot of times it's childbirth. They get a hold of the head and they're yanking on the head to get you out. Not a real good situation. But anyway, so if these things are misaligned, they can put pressure on not only the nerves, but one of the things they really are looking at now that we have MRI and we can see, and you know what I'm talking about, you can see the flow in certain ways they do it of the cerebral spinal fluid. Okay, so they find the cerebral spinal fluid is made in the brain, and it flows up and down the spine, up around the brain, and there's this circulatory system that's going on. Well, you can imagine if that gets kinked off up here somewhere. And I mentioned the story of the guy with Parkinson's last night, right? Well, they found that it was kinking it, impeding the flow of cerebral spinal fluid to the frontal lobe of the brain. And when they released this, it's like having a tourniquet around your arm and your hand is turning blue, right? And they take that tourniquet off and like, oh gosh, my hand got its color back. Okay, well, the same thing is happening up here. You get this kink and you have this problem. So obviously I've just learned this in the last month or so, and we are beginning to implement this in our office, and we're using it on certain patients to see what's going on there, and we're very young in this, but we have a lot of people out there that have experience with this. And I think I told you last night that even this Thursday I'm going up to Charlotte to go and shadow one of the guys that's probably the top guy as far as getting results in this. So I'm can't wait to get up there and see exactly what he's doing and see if we can't bring that back to this area. Okay, because this is such a new analysis system. Very few people know about it. They're telling me there's about 10 people in the world that know this. Okay, it's so new. But that's a whole other story how that was invented, which I don't really have time to. But again, mother's always let's see, I can always get this. What's that saying about the mother of invention? Yeah, necessity's the mother of invention. I don't know why I can't get that. Yeah, necessity's the mother of invention. Because what happened is basically a guy in chiropractic school was doing this research, and he goes like, and the school's going like, oh great, you're doing this research. And they go, yeah, I need to use some of your equipment, the x-ray, oh no, you can't do that. We want you to do the research, but we're not going to let you use any of the tools. So he goes, what am I going to do? Well, he got an inspiration, God, wherever it came from, I would say God, and he got, I said, well, we'll just figure out a way that we can do it without that. And he did. And then that going in that direction, it was even better than what they actually have with the analytical system now they're using, which is primarily X-ray. So again, so it even took a bad situation and made it better, much better. So we're looking at that as being one of these impediments for healing. We can do all the nutrition, like I said, the nutrition, even emotion, stuff like that. But if you're getting kinked up here, so it definitely needs to be evaluated. I've talked to a few people that I got this, got that. What do you think? Well, it should be evaluated. It might be something there. It might not be something there. Okay. And then one of the questions, I think it was Lou, is like, what can we expect to happen from this? And we don't know. All we know is that we can get this aligned and let's see what happens. Okay, so that's one of the newer things along with our normal chiropractic stuff that we do in our office. And so that's that part. Okay, so then we're going to move on to, well, you heard the first, that would be the second. So the third thing is the modality, I guess, that I've been using for probably over 30 years, which is contact reflex analysis, which is the muscle testing, to where we are testing various reflex points in the body. And I'm just gonna read the definition so I don't get it wrong here. CRA is a hands-on method that detects weaknesses or imbalances in the body by testing muscle responses to stimuli. All right, it helps identify areas where energy flow may be blocked or out of balance. So in CRA, during assessments, I use CRA to evaluate the body's responses, guided by the belief that the creator designed these responses to signal areas needing support. Okay, so you keep hearing this theme of energy, and like I said last night, energy is beginning to, well, it's not beginning, but it's been around obviously forever, but we're beginning to understand it better and how to use it. I don't like to use the word diagnostic, because diagnostic implies you find something, you put a name on it. And it's not always about a name, it's about a function or a malfunction.
Right.
Okay, we tend to add names to it, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But then they have this delineation, don't diagnose, don't, just, because if you put a diagnosis on it, then they try to tell you, oh, you're practicing medicine, it's all that nonsense. It's about what's going on in the body, what's malfunctioning, what's wrong, can we do something to fix the functions of the body, the name, it's nice to maybe know kind of what's going on, but that way, a lot of times it's just, we may be wrong. Even at Mayo, they say the diagnostics is only about 30%, to get the name right on this problem. So who cares what the problem, let's get the function straight. That's a little off track there, but okay. So, so in CRA, the body shows a reflective weakness in a specific area, and then I see this as an indication of imbalance, whether nutritional, structural, or energetic. All right, so then we try to then bring that back into, what was our word last night? Balance. Okay, everything's about balance. Okay, we're not trying to fix anything or heal anything. We're bringing it back to balance. Then the body can have an opportunity to heal, right? So I will give you kind of a lot of you have been patients and stuff, so you know this already, but I'm going to give you a little demonstration of how we do this. Okay, you've already seen kind of how the muscle testing works. I'll use Rochelle. Come on now. Okay, so again, we do the muscle testing. Okay, and we always test, there's a little point right here, we always test to see if they're what we call electrical. In other words, because some people are shut down energetically,
right,
and they're not even testable. All right, so we got to kind of there'll be a breaker blown. Okay, we'll use that term. A lot of times, believe it or not, it's in the ankles. So when I can't get them to show anything, we will adjust their ankles because we're kind of connected to the ground, all right, and grounded. And there's a lot of energy exchange between the ground. People may have heard of grounding. as a treatment. You know, it actually will come up, I think, in the body code. It'll show up sometimes, and it definitely shows up in the Qest machine that people need to be grounded. Okay, and where we're in shoes, even mine, are, you know, probably not connected to the ground. We're insulated through plastics and rubber and all that, right? And there's supposed to be this energetic exchange, I should say, going on. So anyway, so that's where the ankles come in. So then there's about roughly 75 points that we test in the body, you know. So I'm not going to go through everything, you know, but there's different ones, you know. We go down. When we hit one that's active, it will go down, okay? And when it does, then we know, okay, let's say the liver point goes down. All right, well, what does that mean? Well, it means probably something's going on in the liver, all right? And then we also have a pulsing system. We will, once we find it, we erase it, because these are, like I said last night, these are acupuncture points. And acupuncture points, and like I said, I'm an acupuncturist, I don't practice anymore, but I'm certified and all that in acupuncture. But so these acupuncture points are like light switches. You can flip them on, flip them off, okay? Because some people go like, what are you doing with this brush? You know, we call it brushing. We brush them down, brush them up. You can turn them on, turn them off to help us evaluate what's going on. So when we find a point, say the liver point goes down, we brush it down, we kind of turn that reflex off. We want to find out what's the number. We will pulse it. You know, we might go 1, 2, 3. All right. So when it's a 3 or below a 10, it basically means the organ is weak. Okay, it's not functioning very well. All right. If it's above a 10, it would probably indicate it's inflamed at least and possibly diseased. So it gives us an idea of where we go next. If it's low, we look at things like flushing. We actually have a manual flush technique. I like to manually flush. It's kind of a massage technique, but we get in and actually take the liver, let's say it's all crudted up with, you know, toxins and whatever, and we actually can put some pressure. We go in and we work on it, kind of massage it, and we actually push out. Think of the liver like a big sponge full of muddy water, okay, and we kind of squeeze it out, you know, that way. And it's not, well, squeeze might be a little, but we put pressure on it to get the stuff out. And it's a much more tolerable way to clean out an organ, I think, okay, versus putting you on, there's all kinds of flush programs. They make you sick, you're sick for a week, you feel terrible. I don't like to do that, because I don't like to do it. So if I don't want to do it, I don't expect my patients to do it. So we'll flush it out. So if it's high, we might consider blood work. We might consider having it evaluated by somebody else, depending on, or we might try some nutritional remedies to see if in the short run it will help to begin to mitigate the problem. If it does, great. If it doesn't, we'll refer, you know, and get it looked at. We don't want to, you know, overlook the process, you know, the possibility there could be a disease process going on there. So, so we basically go through these reflexes, and we get a pretty good picture of what's going on. It's also, it has a good priority system in it as well. In other words, it's going to show typically your worst problems first. And it'll only show sometimes, she might have 6 things wrong with her. But today, on today's snapshot of what we're looking at, it might show you need to address 2 of these, okay? Because either the body can't handle working with too many things at one time, that could be one issue, or it could be you have to get this fixed before we can fix that, or it can be when we fix the major, these other minors may go with it. Okay, that way we're not treating too many things at one time, too many too many pills, too many, all that stuff. All right, so it has a real good priority system in it as well. So, and I like that because it kind of gets us to the key. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is even deeper than that. So that's CRA. We have a practitioner back here that teaches it as well, and with Palmer over in Orlando. And so that's CRA, and we have used that through years. That was the thing that really catapulted me in my career, in my practice, where I went from just being a regular chiropractor to being able to, and I told the story last night of how that all evolved, but how I got from there to there. But that really catapulted my practice and what I was able to offer to people as far as helping them, and how through the years it's just been amazing the stuff we have seen just using, you know, chiropractic, CRA. Because the other thing too, it really gets us to pinpoint, you know, because we walk into a health food store, let's take that, you know, we walk into a health food store and there's, I don't know, hundreds of different things, you know, what do I need in here, you know? What do I take? Well, this system shows you what you need and can pinpoint it. You know, because people come into my office literally with bags of nutrition. And they go like, do I need all this stuff? You know, like, I don't know. I mean, we can test them, and there's actually a way we can muscle test the nutrition as well to see what they need and don't need. Or like we were talking about, some of this stuff that we buy in the stores is just garbage. You know, we go like, yeah, your body needs it, but they don't need this stuff. You know, this is garbage. You know, throw it away. So CRA really helps us kind of go through that stuff as well. Okay, so it's an amazing tool, and we used it very successfully through the years. Okay, thank you. Yay. Yay. Okay, all right, so that's CRA. Okay, now the next thing I want to introduce, yeah, well, I missed that slide. There's this man on the left here is the man that, that's Dr. Versendahl, Dick Versendahl, who was my mentor and taught me this work years ago. And he's another one of these pioneers, you know, chiropractor, but pioneers, took a lot of arrows and slings and all of that through the years, and a great man. Unfortunately, he was killed in a car accident back about 10 years ago or so, I think it was. And we miss him dearly, but we have moved on, and we've built on his work, and it's amazing. So that's a little demonstration that he was giving us. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about is the Qest4 machine. So again, I'm going to read the definition so I don't get this wrong. The Qest4 machine is a non-invasive biofeedback device that measures the body's frequencies to detect imbalances and suggest corrective protocols. It works on the principle that all living things emit unique energy patterns. All right? So we talked about last night how everything emits an energetic signature, right? Like we talked about, this thing is emitting a certain frequency, and we talked about this is not chocolate milk. This is a plastic clicker, so forth. It's got electronics inside of it. Everything has an energy signature. All right, now CRA picks up these energy signatures kind of generically. We can't say, oh, your liver's emitting 540 hertz or something. All right, but the Qest machine does that. It goes deeper, and because it is electronic and that, it has the capability of picking up these frequencies that are being emitted by the organs, glands, systems, bones, whatever. You know, everything has an energy signature. The thing we're getting better and better at, as I said last night, as we go along, we're getting better at understanding how to get this information through machines like this. I told you last night, I've been anti-machine most of my career, because most of the machines that were out there prior to this one, I was able to do the same thing with CRA, you know, so why do a machine? And actually, I thought I could do even better with it. But this machine takes it to another level. All right, so let's see. Yeah. No, so the Qest4 machine. So I'm going to give you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to bring up what the machine shows us. Can we flip it over there, Brian? Yeah, okay. So I've got a pointer here that I can. So when we do the Qest machine, it will, what it does, and we have, we hold these electrodes, okay, so it's not invasive, you don't feel anything. And what it does is this little box here, the box part of it, actually emits an energy signal that goes into the body picks it up and processes it, all right, to where, it's looking for these different frequencies, it's looking for different pathways, how things are communicating, is, this gland talking to that organ, and all these different, infinitesimal amount of information that's going on in the body. So when this energy goes through, if the body's normal, it'll process it normal, and theoretically nothing should come out as being in error. All right, but what it does, if something's in error, it processes it back through this machine and it prints it out like this, okay? Or it doesn't print it out, it shows it on a screen. So this is just one scan, okay? We do sometimes several depending on it. So let's see if this thing, it won't work. There it is. I don't know if you can see my dot there or not, it's kind of small.
There is one on the clicker.
Oh, is it?
There is, I believe.
Was it this one?
Try that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
there you
beautiful. Wonderful. Okay. So, for example, this particular thing right off the bat, which is up at the top, this kind of prioritizes things here as well on the left. If it's at the top of the list, it's telling us that's a pretty big deal going on right now. All right, so this.
Read it because it's really hard to see in the back.
Okay. All right, so I'll read this. Okay, so this particular person shows an immune filter, immune problem, right off the bat. Something's going on with the immune system. And over here, it's picked up influenza. I'm not sure what the CM is. This thing is, can't hold it still. Influenza. Okay, so now, so that doesn't necessarily mean this person has the flu. Okay, they've picked up, they have an energy signature. Okay, and this is the distinction that the practitioner has to make. Are they really, because a person might go, like when they see that, they go like, I don't have the flu, I feel fine. All right, and they may, okay, but it does, what happened? This is me. Okay. All right, there you go. But what it does is it's showing that, remember last night we talked about how the energy a lot of times shows up before the problem, okay? In blood work, you got the problem already when it shows up, right? Energetically, okay, it shows up. You've been probably at least exposed to the flu, and you may or may not get it, depending on your, it is showing that your immune system is a little bit weak here. It might be addressed. Now, over on this column over here, on the right here, is what they call a dilution factor. And this is one of the things that, again, the practitioner has to evaluate. And these numbers mean things over here. So, and that one says 70M, all right? Now, a 70M tells me that this is an energetic problem. You have an energetic flu signature, but it has not, at least has not manifested into the actual flu, all right? Now, if that number was, like, let's say the next one down here is 11X. 11X means it's physical, it's active, okay? Again, you may not be sick at the moment, but you may be heading there pretty quick. So an 11X on the flu thing, I would want to get after that, okay? The 70M, we treat it energetically. Now, what I mean by energetically is when we get done with these scans, the other thing that I like about this machine is we'll actually produce it's not technically a homeopathic remedy, but I'm going to use that term because I think people will understand it a little bit better. It'll produce a homeopathic remedy, and what we do is we take a blank remedy and we put it on this pad here, and we can upload the energetic signature, which is how homeopathy works. I don't know if people understand homeopathy, but homeopathy is not a nutrition. It's an energetic way of treating things. So we would this device would upload an energetic signature to negate that influenza energy. Okay, so that's pretty important in this particular case. All right, the next one down there, okay, is the second one is showing blood cell energetic signatures, and over on the right, it's got lymphocytes. Okay, so lymphocytes are white blood cells that deal with viruses. It's on the viral side. What's flu? It's a virus. Okay, so I don't know how we can do that. Okay, so that dude here. Get it back up here.
Go to the right, yeah.
That one. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, all right. No, that's the wrong one. It's the other one. Yeah, that one. Yeah. All right. Let me get this out of the way. On the wrong.
Do you have a full screen?
That's what I'm trying to.
There you go.
That's,
There you go.
well, that's the second one I wanted to get to, but anyway, all right. So I think I might have knocked it out. All right. Anyway, so that second line was showing that the lymphocytes were involved at an 11x level, which is a physical level. So something needs to be done with the lymphocytes to improve that. Okay, and then we have to make a clinical decision. Do they need nutrition for that? Do they need the remedy? Do they need both? Okay, and that's how that particular thing, that's the beauty of this machine. So, and then if you go, this is another scan here. There's, let me just pick out something here. We have, okay, so here's one right here, fatty acid signature, okay, and flaxseed oil. So it's showing that you've got your fatty acids, which are your fats in your body, are not, there's a problem there. And the treatment is actually flaxseed oil, is what it would show. But again, if we go to the dilution column, it's 90C. 90C is an energetic problem, which means that you don't need flaxseed oil. You probably have enough of that in your body, more than likely on this. But then it also, another beauty of this machine is, okay, so in CRA we might show you need flaxseed oil. All right, we give you flaxseed oil, but it may not help because it's energetic. You have enough flaxseed oil in your body, but it needs kind of an energetic kick in the tail to get functional. Because we find people like, it'll show like, let's say vitamin C. You'll show a vitamin C deficiency up here. And they go like, my goodness, I'm taking 4,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. How can I be deficient? And they're not, but it'll show on here because energetically it's not being activated, or it's not being absorbed, or it's not being energized, okay? So the homeopathy remedy kind of kicks it and gets it going. Because remember, we gotta have energy balance, we gotta have the nutrition. If we have one without the other, we're not gonna get the result we're looking for. So that's what this machine is really good at. And there's a kind of an art to it to get a feel for when you need to. Here's another thing that it's showing here. I just want to move this so okay, down here at the bottom, vaccination signatures, childhood illnesses. Okay, you talk about one of these saboteurs in a way. This is more of a physical saboteur, but here you go. Someone comes in with a problem, and I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay, well, it could be you've got old vaccination stuff going on in your system. Okay, and that's a 31X, which I believe is on the borderline of energetic versus physical. So we would want to maybe clean that out, you know, with either the remedy or there's some other nutritional things that we could use for that. Here's a food signature, eggs. This particular person might have an egg issue, okay, that we haven't been able to pick up that might be triggering that. That where we can then integrate our CRA and actually test it. Are they having a problem with eggs or not? All right. So so it goes on through. Here's a heavy metal signature. All right. Here's a chemical signature, amphetamines. Well, people go like, I don't take amphetamines. You know, where's that coming from? Well, we know that, for example, in the water, there's all kinds of drugs and stuff in the water. So you might be picking up an amphetamine signature through the water you're drinking or the food you're eating or something. But it's enough there that it's causing problems in your body. All right, let's see what else we got up here. It's interesting. General nutrients, ADHS, which is an adrenal supplement that we use in our office. So again, is that energetic or do we need to supplement? All right, so that's what that shows. Here's minerals here. They're deficient in boron, but it's a 9,000 DM. So again, that's an energetic problem. So we find a lot of people have they're not that bad with their nutrition in their body, but they need the energetic help to get it activated, and then that's going to help their overall health. All right, here's a pH signature down here that this person's probably too alkaline, you know, so they need to do something about that. Here's Bartonella. Okay, so how many people know what Bartonella is?
I don't have it.
Karen, I know you know. Yeah. Bartonella is Lyme. Okay? And there's different levels of Lyme. And people go like, oh, I didn't get bitten. I haven't been bitten by a deer, you know, or deer tick. Deer tick. Yeah, that happens every day, doesn't it? Yeah. But what they have found is they're finding the Bartonella signature, or the Lyme, is now in mosquitoes. So now we're getting, you know, and you can go, there's some theories that, you know, how Lyme got into mosquitoes, right? So I'm sure that wouldn't, nobody would be surprised at that, right?
But a 6mm is...
So, you know, if you've been bitten by a mosquito, you might have, and we see this in a lot of people. It's a lot of people, and there's different levels of it. Some people are sick with it, some people have it, and they don't even know it. I have it, you know, but it doesn't, I'm not sick or anything, but, you know, I've probably been bitten by a mosquito and picked it up. I know I haven't had a deer tick thing. I haven't been bitten by a deer lately. So anyway, that's what this machine helps us with, and there are all kinds of scans. Another cool thing about it is we run a basic scan on everybody, and then we, based on that data, we can go and ask the computer, basically, or the machine, where do we need to look next? Okay, instead of us going, oh, let's run a brain scan, let's run a thyroid scan, the machine will actually show you where you need to look next based on the data that it's putting together. So it might go, you know, somebody will come in, and this is really crazy that we see this sometimes, it'll go knee scan. I don't have any problem with my knee, you know, what's going on? Well, something's going on in your knee that's affecting your health. Now what we find sometimes with this is it'll show you're holding emotions in your left knee, is where, you know, so that has to be dealt with. And it's nothing wrong with your knee per se, but it may be holding an emotion, or maybe a meridian going through there is being impeded, or being, you know, so this is how complex we are. And when you think about, I mean, medicine has great testing and scans and all that, you know, and I get that, but it doesn't go to this level, okay, to where you're never going to go to a medical doctor and they're going to say, your problem's in your left knee, you know, and you don't have a knee problem. If they think you have a knee problem, they're going to send you to an orthopedic surgeon, more than likely.
Or a shrink.
Okay, or what?
Or a shrink.
Or a shrink, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's always good. Yeah, that's always the fail-safe, go to a shrink, yeah. So that's what it's doing, and all of this is comes under that energetic predicate of this. It's picking up all this information by what the body's emitting energetically. Like I said, everything's emitting energy. And then we have to take this and say, okay, well, is this something that's really physically active right now in your body, or is it maybe heading that way? But we want to address it. And what happens in the tinctures when we do these, it addresses all of this stuff. Okay, and then when we run subsequent scans, we're looking to see, all right, did these things clear? A lot of times what we'll see is we'll get those cleared, and then it kind of brings up another set, of stuff, until eventually we work through and get everything back to what? Balance. We're looking for balance. Because if we're balanced, we're going to have a much better shot at being healthy, right? So that's what this machine does. Pretty incredible, and we're learning better how to utilize it, how to interpret it. And like I was talking to Robin a while ago, we're learning with this machine. We can also put in we can actually create new tests. All right, like I just actually created one myself. I was at one of the conferences I was at in Texas last month. We had one of the top cardiologists in the country spoke to us. He's actually up at Vanderbilt University, and they've now discovered, and they've been working on this for a while, so it didn't happen yesterday, but they have discovered 23 genes that affect cardiovascular health. Okay, and they've got them named and numbered. So I was able to, and this is the nice thing about this machine is, now that I know these genes give off what? Energy.
That's right.
Okay, so we can program the Qest machine with these 23 genes and put them in the scan, so that when we run a scan on somebody, if you've got one of those genes or more than one of those genes, it'll pop up on here. All right, then the question is it active? Or is it active? Is it energetic? Is it kind of hanging around? Because genes in the body can be active or they can be non-active. Okay, they can be quiet. You might have this gene, but as long as it's not doing anything, it's not going to affect you. I use this analogy with my patients all the time. If we have the meanest pit bull in town over here sleeping in the corner, and we're trying to have this meeting, everything's fine, we're good. But if I go over there and whack this pit bull over the head with a stick, and he's running, we're going to have a mess in here. Okay, and that's kind of how genes are. And that's the other thing, because some people go, well, I'm this or that or the other, because I'm genetic. I have that genetically. All right. Well, we're learning too how to quiet these genes down. And one of the main things that drives genetic activity is, and I used this word last night, anybody remember? Inflammation. Right. Inflammation triggers a lot of these bad genes, okay, and what we have. So if we know we have these energetic signatures, okay, like for example, if we show you've got cardiovascular genetic underpinnings, and some of them are different. Some of them are high blood pressure, some of them are related to blockages, all the, atherosclerosis and all these different combinations of those. If we can't get the genes out of your body, that's impossible, but we can quiet them. We know that we got to work harder, probably a little bit in that way, to keep these genes quiet. So it's not like, oh God, I'm just going to end up with heart disease, I guess, which is a bad confession,
Right.
by the way. All right, but instead we go, no, I know some answers, and I know now I've got to really, some of us can slide a little bit on some of these things, but some of us really can't. All right, so then at least we know. Again, like with emotions and all that, we know some things now that we can proactively move on. All right? So again, that's another thing about this machine is that as we learn more stuff, we can program it in here. Okay, and there's doctors all over the country who are coming up with they have a Lyme protocol, which I haven't gotten into yet, but they have a whole different Lyme protocol that's pretty complicated. They have an advanced allergy protocol, how they work through allergies and neutralize them and that. We're working on that right now. It's just ongoing, of how, the way I see it, God is just revealing stuff to us so we know how to deal with it physically, emotionally, medically, prayer, spiritually, all of that, how to bring all that together. And so because we have weapons. We have a lot of weapons that we can use against these things as we identify them. So, whether it's emotion code or CRA or nutrition or energetics, all of that. So it's pretty amazing stuff. Okay, so then I think I already kind of explained a little bit about how I integrate the two. When we see things like, well, let's do it this way. Let's say we show in the scan, because it'll show emotions, because what? Emotions have energy, right? We just learned that. So let's say we start seeing a bunch of emotional stuff on here as being a problem. Okay, well then, this is not probably the best way to deal with it. It does help you energetically with it, but then we would refer them over to, okay, it looks like you got a lot of energy, emotional stuff driving what your problem is. You need to go see Rochelle or Charlotte or somebody in our office that can really get to the bottom of that and start getting rid of that. Or like we say, we might find a certain nutrition. Maybe they're taking a bunch of vitamin C and it's showing a deficiency. Well, let's test the C that you're taking. Maybe it's some of the garbage that we were talking about last night. It's not working. We need to get you on, if it's a physical issue, we need to get you on some vitamin C that actually is going to work for you. So that's how we kind of integrate those. Okay, so the way I kind of look at all of this in the big broad scope of this, and we talked a little bit about this last night as well. The way I look at it, the tools I use, these tools we use, are not just about the physical healing alone. I believe they're gateways to understanding how God made us and how He made these bodies, okay, and how God designed us to function as integrated beings. By aligning energy centers with biblical principles, I can guide patients towards spiritual, emotional, and physical restoration, because we have to have all of it. We can't just have a little bit of it, this piece, that piece. A lot of people, we get by with that, but to get whole, we really need all of that. So it's really about releasing these emotional, these energetic blockages, whether it's through, whether it's happening here, whether it's happening here, whether it's happening in emotion code, whether it's nutritional, whether it's the food, what have you. We have these tools that we're utilizing to help us understand not only how we work, and we're going to get into more quantum physics. I know Allison's going to do it. I think in my third session, I've got different directions I can go with that depending on what she says. But how, and this is, I don't know if it was Keith or who was saying that, might have been Roxy, was talking about being open-minded to this. I don't think we have a problem with that in this group, that from what I've heard and seen and talked to a lot of you. But there's a lot of skepticism. But like I said, we're learning how, I believe, what it's showing me. We are learning how God put us together, how we were made to work in this atmosphere, this world that we live in now, how there's stuff going on in the seen and the unseen world, and how I've kind of got this new phrase. I'm saying quantum physics is God's physics.
Yes.
Okay, because we can't explain it. It's a mystery, if you want to call it. It's one of these mysteries. And then when we bring up and go like, look, I think God is showing me something here, we get the arrows. oh my God, you're New Age. No. New Age is just, all that is they have taken something that God made, they're not giving any glory to Him, and they make it about themselves.
Right.
Okay? Now, I'll just tell you, God, when we were starting the emotion code, I'm just going to tell you a quick little thing. When we started getting into the emotion code, and we were catching some flack, okay, because man, you're like, oh boy, and the man that's doing this is a Mormon, okay, and this is what Rochelle was talking about. He's a Mormon, okay. It's like, oh, and you know Mormons. Look, all I know, and I learned a lot from this, getting to know the man myself, and how he does. I don't know what's Mormon about him, actually, when you really talk about it, because what he was doing in the first seminar we went to check this out, right off the bat, he's talking about casting out demons and using the name of Jesus, and you better get under the blood for this. And I'm going like, I didn't know he was a Mormon, and I said, wow, this guy's a Christian. And because not that I judge everybody by that, but, and he started talking all this, right off the bat, 15 minutes into the seminar, he's talking about, he goes like, I'm sorry, some people might be offended, but this is the way it is. This is the way I work, this is the way I roll. I trust God, I pray, I get answers, and I get answers. When I don't know something, he says, I make it very simple. I just ask God, and He gives me the answer.
Yes.
I'm going like, this is incredible. And then I find out he's a Mormon. And then I told someone about it that's in spiritual leadership, and they go, oh man, they about had a cow. Oh my God. Oh, you are off. I'm going like, something is not making sense here.
Yeah.
So we dug and dug and dug, and we're stuck. So back to the story. So I'm driving to work one day. We're coming out of the gate of our subdivision, and I'm praying. Like, Lord, is this the way I need to go? What is, am I right? Am I wrong? Are they right? Or I'm trying to get the answer here. And I distinctly heard him, the Lord, speak to me, Grady, this is my stuff, and we're taking it back.
Amen.
Okay? So you can do with that what you want, but that was a confirmation for me that to move forward. Yeah. That is my stuff. I left out. That's my stuff. They stole it.
Yeah.
We need to take it back.
Amen.
And they put a negative connotation on it so bad that the religious world will call it, or just do not want to have anything to do with it. And the way I kind of look at it, so it took, unfortunately, a Mormon for God to download what He was going to, because God's going to get stuff in the earth.
Yes.
Okay?
That's right.
And, there's the Cyruses and the different ones in the Bible that, and I don't want to be too negative here, but the Christians are all hiding in the corner. God's trying to give us stuff,
Right.
and we're hiding. Oh, that's New Age. Oh no, that's of the devil. That's this. That's that. It's, all this nonsense. Instead of let's investigate this.
Yes.
Let's look at it.
Yeah.
Because people pray. I've had people tell me, oh, "I'm praying for you that you don't get." I said, "Look, pray. If you're going to pray for me, pray that I have discernment." Okay, for what it is I'm doing and what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Okay, so that I look at this, no, we're not going there. This, okay, we need to investigate this. That's the wisdom, that's what I need to know. Okay, as a practitioner, as a leader, we're all leaders in something. But as we lead, in my practice with my patients, the worst thing I want to do is mislead somebody, for the sake of whatever. So anyway, so that's I kind of got off on track there, but that's what's coming together. I think God is revealing more. The energy signatures seem to be very accurate, very powerful, and we're going to talk a little bit more. We're going to really get off into some crazy stuff later on, maybe, but it's not crazy. It's actually the real deal. So let me see. So I guess I got a few minutes to take a few questions if we have any. And yes, sir, Mr. Keith.
To your point that you just made, I seem to recall in the scriptures the disciples came to Jesus and said, hey, there's some guys over here doing some things over here in your name.
Yes.
Should we stop them?
Right.
Oh, come
Exactly.
on.
That's
Come
yeah.
on.
And what was the Lord's reply?
Just no, they're doing it in my name.
He
Leave them
said,
alone.
leave them alone,
Leave them alone.
because if they're not against us, they're for us.
Come on.
Right.
That's a good answer.
That's the scripture, Keith, actually,
Okay.
That's good.
that I leaned on a lot when we were going through this.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that you want to prove a point with that, but you want to know that, okay, well, you know, Jesus discerned,
Yeah.
that was discernment.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, he discerned what was going on there. Said, no, they're using my name, leave them alone.
Leave 'em alone.
Yeah,
You know,
come
and
on.
let them, so,
Thank you.
I don't know all of the spiritual implications of that, but there's probably a lot more there than we can imagine.
We
but-
know nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
But that's excellent, yeah, Keith, very
Brent,
good.
thank
Yeah.
you.
You know, when drugs are made, nobody asks if it was a Christian that made it.
Come on.
What, I'll ask you a question, who made this thing? I don't know.
Well, it has a forbidden fruit on it.
Yeah. No, that's good, that's good. Yeah, exactly. We use things, we have no idea where it came from. I don't know who made the cell phone, I don't know who invented, you know, we probably don't know who invented most stuff.
The question I had was, who in the world figured that out? How long did it take them to find the associations of certain
Good question.
frequencies with that?
So here's how that worked, because that was my question. And when we went for the training out we went to Utah for the training for this, I actually talked to one of the developers. And I go like, how do you know, now I won't get into that. But how did you know, how do you know all this stuff? How do you know what, like with emotions? That was one of the discussions, we'll call it, with a person in spiritual leadership. Like, how's that thing know that, you know? And so I go, well, I don't know exactly, but I will find out. So I went and asked them, and here's how they did it. And it did take a long time.
It had to.
So they started out, first of all, measuring letters. The letter A emits a frequency, right? And they could measure it. B, C, right on down. Then they started putting letters together, making words. Love, fear, hate, da 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 da. That emits a certain frequency, right? Then they started making sentences, which you can imagine how many sentences can you make, and we're still making them. Okay, so a certain sentence, you know, like I love my wife, or I don't love my wife, or you know, all the different things, and they put those as frequencies. Okay, they you know, were cataloging this and making analogs and that. So they put it together, and let's say I hate my wife. Okay, that has a certain frequency on it. Or that might not be a good one. What would be a good one that would show up in here? I'm thinking one that would show up in here as.
I hate my mother.
I'll tell you one. I'll tell you one that showed up on me. Okay, originally, and this was kind of one of the things that sold me on this was I was dealing at the time we were dealing with some changes, and not bad stuff, but changes in our office, how we're going to do this and how we're going to do that, and personnel and so forth. And so I'm getting tested one day by a practitioner, and she goes, what's going on in your business? You got something going on in your business? I'm going like, what do you mean? Because it showed on there, I forget the exact wording, but it came up as, you're dealing with something in the business world. How does it know that?
No, right?
All right, so somewhere in there, there's a sentence or an analog that's got an energy signature to it that has to do with business. So they do it in reverse. So now, let's say that sentence has a frequency of 725 hertz, okay, that it emits every time you say it, because the spoken word has a frequency. So they started making the analog, you know, and putting it into the information so that when, okay, you hold the thing and it's going like 725 hertz, 725 hertz, then it'll show that that emotion will show up on the screen and that's basically how they did it. You look puzzled, but,
So,
but it's,
It's quantum.
can you give them just a little, like, because Qest has been around for like 30 years? That company.
Yeah, there's been
just with
versions
that
of it,
company-
yeah.
Well, no, well, because it was the,
yeah.
whatever, the.
Assyria, whatever it was. yeah.
Series, something like that,
Yeah.
yeah. But, so, you probably know better than me, because I'm just a new kid on the block learning, but they've been around like 30 years or thereabout, that they started developing their particular system. But
Yeah.
this is based on technology that, Nikolai Tesla, and this is stuff
Yeah.
that's been
Yeah.
going back since the
Well, this gets
40s
into the
and
quantum.
the 30s
Yeah.
and the quantum, this is like, it's been around a long time, it's just how to harness it and put it into this.
Right,
And it's been 30 years in the making to put it into this
right.
with one company, and this
Because you're right, it's
company's
about
been
40,
around.
this is about 40 years in the making.
Okay,
what they've
for,
been
I
working
was
through
around
all
that.
this.
They've been around
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah.
And these are not inexpensive devices. This one, it's very small, you look at it, and it's about the price of a small, car. So it's, it's not an inexpensive device, and a lot of work's put into it. To train for this is a 4-day training in Utah, and they do it once a month, and you can barely get into the training. I think
Yeah,
they're 3 or
you're
4 months out right
getting
now.
started. Does that answer your
So,
question,
yeah,
Brian?
Yeah, I figured it was a long time
Yeah,
long
to-
time.
yeah.
correlate the things.
They basically are measuring what the spoken word, they're actually measuring the frequencies, so when you say a certain thing, and then they just reverse engineered it, they put it, and so it's like, it's incredible. I mean, because it has to be done, it would have to be done, I don't think there's a computer that could do that. I don't, you have to actually do it, because it's a spoken word. But it shows you the power of the spoken word.
And, let me add to anybody that hasn't, I haven't had it done yet, but I've read my brother-in-law's output, my wife's, I think Keith, I don't know if I've seen Stephanie's, but just like you were saying about things in your office, it nailed stuff that nobody else would know.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
just crazy accurate. It's freaky. It is freaky.
Yeah.
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 I'm sure the Mormons had something to do with it.
Einstein called it spooky science.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah,
good name.
yeah, exactly.
I have 2 questions. On the genes, is a cancer gene in those genes?
No, but that's another one that probably somewhere will be coming along.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now I probably shouldn't go into that, but yeah, that should be coming along, I would think, to where we can see whether that genetic pattern is in the body. But again, if you have it, if someone has that, they gotta, I hate to use the word work harder, but they just gotta be more diligent in what it is they're putting in their body, and what things would be activating those. Because it's always usually something inflammatory, that's activating.
So my other question is, and I think it would be for you and Rochelle, in all of the codes that you do, if you have a transplant patient, someone who's received somebody else's eyes, heart,
Yeah.
Achilles tendon, I don't know, or whatever. How is that, are the emotions or any of the subconscious things able to be transferred to the recipient?
From what I've read and heard, the answer to that is yes. Actually, people, when they get heart transplants, they actually bring with them whatever was in the other person, because they're holding those emotions, those patterns, those energetic patterns. And I think if that's true, I don't see why they couldn't be deleted or changed or what have you through this.
Right. Well, I was asking because I received an ACL from a cadaver. So I was
yeah.
just curious because you talked about the emotions in the knee. I was just wondering, like that's what made me think of that.
Yeah.
That's what made me think of that.
Yeah, you know what, I haven't thought of it that way about some of the cadaver things with knees and different parts of the body, but yeah, I mean, Because everything has a signature to it, you know, and everything is holding, could be holding something.
Come see me.
Yeah.
How about getting blood?
I'm just gonna read it this.
Same thing.
Oh, okay. This popped up on my Facebook like last week. Future medicine will be the medicine of frequencies.
Yeah, yeah.
Albert Einstein quote.
Wow.
And here's what this person who, I don't even know who this is. And this is the, I guess she responded to it. This is more aptly called, and I prophesy, returning to the voice of God and your original sound. He formed you out of the dust. He breathed life into you, and he frequenced you to life with the sound of his voice.
Yes,
That's good.
We're gonna take one more question.
Yeah, one more
And
question.
then if you have other questions, please write them down. Oh, Juliana? Please write them down and put them in the basket for the panel. Oh, Adrian. Hi, Adrian. Okay, write it down and we're gonna put it in the basket. You're gonna put it in the basket. We're gonna save that for the panel.
This last question.
Okay, so mine has to do with emotions. I like the balance of the body. That makes sense. Balance of chemicals and nutrients and things like that. Logically smooth. Sounds fine. Makes sense. But with emotions, it gets a little squirrely. So I want to preface it with this, right? My girlfriend, she considers me like the equivalent of emotional intelligence of a rock, right? But I think I got my emotions figured out. I just think they're under control, right? She on the other hand, right, has very extravagant emotions. And I think, my view of that is that hers are out of control or imbalanced, but I guess it's a matter of perspective. So, all that said, my question is like, what is are emotions supposed to be balanced? And then like, if so, what is that balance? What is considered
Okay.
emotional balance?
So, here's kind of my view of it, okay?
Great question.
God gave us emotions, okay? And it was his,
He has them.
yeah, and he has them.
Yes.
It was his deal. So, what's balanced? With emotions, I think balance comes from whatever God's made you, okay, as far as emotional. Everybody has a different temperament, everybody has different, you know, and it's really probably geared towards what your gift is, all right? And so when you have certain giftings require certain emotions, you know, if you're an entertainer, okay, we have one in our family, it's an entertainer. When I look at those emotions, I'm going like, oh my God, you know. And she probably looks at me like, oh my God, you know, because I'm more of a thinker, more intellectual, you know. I don't want to be swinging from chandeliers and stuff like that. You know, that doesn't appeal to me. Some people it does. So I think and there's probably people in this room who can answer it even better than me, but I think our emotions are geared to, now, there's, you know, this way or that way with where we're supposed to be, and that's between you and God and how, you know, where you should be, and, you know, if you're getting extreme one way or the other, you know, there's a balance in there somewhere. But your balance is going to be different than your girlfriend's balance, than my balance and her balance, and, you know, that's society and the culture, you know, I think it's just that as long as you're not hurting people, you're not hurting yourself, and you're in your groove, so to speak, of what, you know, what.
That's probably what attracted the two of you together too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she has.
That creates balance
That's
sometimes, right?
So,
Yeah.
Or there's a good possibility one day if you have a baby, the baby will be perfectly balanced.
All right.
Get married first.
All right, so good. Well done. Thank you.